All right. Party people in the place to be. Vandals and whatever else is lurking in the darkness. This is BuzzOramA, brought to you by Buzz Bites. This is a new sideshow for Pink Buzz, where we kind of talk about other forms of media we absolutely adore. And today we are going into the hollowed antiquity of our youths, and we're going to be talking about a very, very important punk rock compilation. And it really set the world on fire for everybody on the panel. And I can just remember how important these things were, because we kind of touched on this in our test pilot episode when we talked about, trying to find smaller bands records in the 90s, what I mean, at stores and stuff. And things like this really helped. Like, you would go to the store and this would be a CD that you'd get for $4, and it had 20 bands on it, and they all lit your life on fire. And it just made it a little easier to narrow down your search. Hi, Chad. What's up, bro?
What up, Chad?
And it just really kind of, it really helped you find what you were looking for. And it opened just so many doors, because another thing that you would have is a lot of times with these smaller bands, if you hadn't heard them before, you'd have no idea what the album you were buying sounds like. So this you'd even know a song or two, so you'd know what you were getting into with a punk album, because usually you had like the really cool name, the really cool album cover, and whether you got a certain energy from it or not depended on whether you spent the $19 to buy the CD, because punk CDs were notoriously expensive at this time. And was it the same with you guys with these records? Or did that kind of how it transpired with y'all?
Yeah, man. Just the whole 90s wave of punk hardcore compilations was like probably more important than some of the full-length records, honestly, because without a lot of these, like back then, I know we touched on this before, this is pre, search whatever the fuck you want to internet days, so you don't get that information handed to you so easily. So just finding so many bands from these things, like you touched on, Johnny, the accessibility, the pricing, they would give these things away at shows, and it would it'd be able to open up your listening ability to bands you may not hear otherwise. And yeah, man, it really gave you a clue of what you would be getting into if you purchased one of the records. And I think that this is the old punk compilations are probably one of the most important parts of the scene back then that is overlooked pretty much always, as far as, I've been around. Like, I don't really hear anyone bring up the importance of them. So I'm really stoked to touch on that in this episode, man.
Yeah, for me as well. Like, I started listening to Epitaph, a lot of Epitaph when near the end of high school, and then when I got into college, Epitaph and punk culture was started to get so ingrained in snowboard culture, skate culture. We'd get all these awesome we used to listen to snowboard movies, and the soundtracks on those. You had so many bands, and then boom, PunkOramA comes out. It's like the soundtrack to all these snowboard movies in one album. When I was in college, almost everyone that was into snowboarding or skating had a copy of this album. It was kind of like a rite of passage. And you get a variety of bands for cheaper than if you bought a full album of an Epitaph band, because the bands themselves, their albums were like double the price.
Yeah.
And all you had was one band. Granted, I love the albums I bought. I love to death. But it was nice to have a little variety, change it up a bit with different bands on one album. And, it just caught on. And I think a testament is there's 8 volumes of PunkOramA in total? Something like that, maybe 6. Anyway, there's a lot. That just goes to show how popular it was and how well received this compilation series was. It's incredible. And like I say, man, the first one for me is that's the one, man. Nothing's ever gonna beat it for me.
Yeah,
we're
man.
gonna get into that, and like I can agree with you. There is no suck on this record, and you're probably not gonna hear too many unkind words. There'll be little nitpicks here and there, of course, from me and Matthew, but yeah, dude, this entire thing is just. I remember I'd never listened to this one until this week when Joey wanted to do it because I wanted to do volume 2 because that's the one I knew. I personally did not learn about punk rock until Green Day, and I didn't even know Green Day was punk. You know what I mean?
Wow.
But there are
Punk-
two
punk
bands
pop.
that are there are two bands on this that are very important to my journey into being the music lover that I am, and that is Rancid and The Offspring. Actually, The Offspring and then Rancid. When I first heard Self Esteem, like I had never heard anything like that before, and then then Salvation came out, and then I got Smash and Let's Go, and
Let's
those
go.
albums changed my life. And then when I found Volume 2 of PunkOramA, it was great. But Joey's like, no, we got to do the first one. We got to do the first one. And I'm like, okay. And then I went and found it, listened to it, and yeah, we got to do the first one. This thing is this thing is iconic. I feel bad.
You gotta
that I
start from
didn't
the
have this
beginning,
as a
my
teenager,
friend.
but it actually does predate my life as a punk rocker. And I love albums from this time period because it disproves one of my favorite things about that the media tries to propagate, that in between when Black Flag broke up in 1983 and when Nirvana came out in 92, there was no punk rock. None of it existed. Like no bands were doing anything new, and you're just kind of like, PunkOramA Volume 1, dude. It had like early Offspring. It has like all these bands that recorded shit from like 1987. Like you have just been proven so wrong. Not to mention you also had like the vegan straight edge stuff coming out of New York, and you had the Riot Girl movement coming out of the Pacific West Coast. So that whole argument's flawed. But this album's just beautiful proof of that. Like there was totally punk rock between Black Flag and Nirvana. And Nirvana ain't even punk rock, but we'll touch on that later. But yeah, how did you guys find punk rock? I mean, like honestly, like before maybe even listening to PunkOramA, like what got you into the music?
Like I think I talked about it a little bit when we did the Crow soundtrack. My cousin was really into like just music you weren't fucking hearing on the radio and shit, and she had given me a Bad Brains tape, and that was what started it all for me. And that was probably 94, 95-ish, I'm guessing. And after that, it was just, I skated a lot, and that like whole culture, like, you know, a lot of punk, a lot of hip hop too. And just, there's a few bands on this comp that were just like, if you skateboarded back in 1995, these records were being handed to you, and like 3 of your boys knew these records and would like fucking punch you if you didn't listen to it. So like, yeah, man. After that, I started playing drums and going to shows and playing in bands, and from like the time that I could, you know, find a way out of my shitty hometown growing up, I started touring, and this whole culture was my entire life for many, many years. And I'm very tame now compared to then, but yeah, man. But compilations, again, man, probably the most important part of that journey, because there's so many bands that I found through these things. Like even my very first record I ever purchased with my own money is a fucking punk rock compilation. So that kind of goes to show you how important they were to me. So yeah, man, fucking, that's all I got.
Yeah, like I said before, for me, high school, man, there's, especially in my small town, we had like this community of punks, and then we had a community of skaters, and there was a lot of cross section there. A lot of us, we knew each other and we got along. And it was funny because the skaters, it didn't, sometimes some punks skated, but they were really not skaters at all. And we had kind of a cross section. There was one guy that kind of was in with both crowds. And when we started college, he convinced the guy who owns the bar in town. There used to be an old bowling alley in the basement, and they had a bar, and he convinced them to let him have the basement and open a bar called the Underground. And we used to go there and drink and just listen to, and we actually convinced him that we could have the main bar one Saturday, and we threw like this big ass punk show, and it was pretty fucking cool. And that's pretty much, you know, growing up watching skater videos and movies and snowboarding movies, and like you hear all this music and just trying to track down all those albums, all those bands, and you know, you just wanted it because you wanted to be able to go out on the street and skate and snowboard to these tunes too while you were doing it, you know? So you had to have it. And that's pretty much how it went. And then college came around where I moved to the city, had a lot more like music stores that carried a lot more stuff, a lot of independent, like smaller music stores where we could more easily find these albums. And from there on, I just never looked back.
One of the things that helped out, at least towards the end of the 90s, and I might get called a poser and laughed at by even Matt by saying this, but Hot Topic, when they first started opening their stores in and around the valley, they had this really good record selection. And yeah, dude, like if you were looking for something really small and esoteric, you probably wouldn't find it. But if you were looking for like a Subhumans album or like a GBH album or the new Bad Religion, like, yeah, you could go there and get it, no problem. And they were only about $13, which is really cheap for a CD, like in those days, man. So I hate to say it, but yeah, Hot Topic actually served a purpose at one point in its entire existence, in my opinion.
I'm not going to rag on you, Johnny.
But yeah, like, those are our humble beginnings.
I have no basis for what Hot Topics is, so I can't make fun of you on that one. I have no clue like what the equivalent would be here. So
they don't have Hot Topic, and well, it's basically like a store. Like when it first started, it actually
basically like HMV kind of.
Probably, like it catered mostly when it first opened to ravers, punks, and metalhead goths. Like if you wanted to buy some pleather pants and some stretched hole earrings, and you know, the new Orbital CD, or if you wanted to get the new Bad Religion CD, like yeah, you'd go to Hot Topic. But it got really trendy, and that it kind of helped, I guess, start the poserization of the scene. I never see it like that, even though rises and falls happen in this type of music. It's risen and fall, 4 times in its history. So, and it'll probably happen again. And no, one thing I hope though, if it does, I really hope we get a revival of this era, of this style of punk rock, because it's just fun. It's funny. And the sardonic, sarcastic, like, yeah, we're singing about messed up stuff, but don't try to pretend like you really care that much, because I know you don't. Type cynicism to the record, to the songs. I loved it. It was perfect. It encapsulated my little smartassness when I was a teen, and kind of how I still am. And yeah, humble beginnings be damned, though. This album does not start out with one. Like this one. Doesn't. This is like probably one of the best album openers I think you could probably pick. And it is Do What You Want by Bad Religion. This is a song off of Suffer, arguably their best album. It's definitely one of my favorites. This song in particular is probably my 3rd favorite Bad Religion song. I absolutely love the chorus about break all the rules and go to hell with Superman. Yeah. Like that line alone just cracks me the hell up. And yeah, dude, what does this track do for you when you first put this record on and you just hear that raunchy na 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 BR riff start up? Like, how do you feel, Joey?
Bad Religion, that's all you got to say, right? But it's a great intro to the compilation. I like, there isn't a bad one, but the first, what is it, five songs are just, they nail it. It's perfect. Every song that follows and the way they do the lineup for the songs is just, it's perfection. I can't say enough on this album about what do you call that? The producer, I guess, the way they decided which bands went first. Yeah,
like they paced it perfectly. Like,
yeah, like each song that follows the next, just it flows perfectly from song to song. You know, it's it's like a well-crafted movie or a show. You know, it has that, you know, the apex, and it comes back down, and even the last song, the way it closes out.
Yeah, it gives
like,
you a nice little
mellow
tone to land on.
Like,
yeah,
it
calms
was
down.
Perfect.
And
I mean, it was a perfectly produced compilation album. Like, I can't say anything bad about it.
Do you have any personal feelings for this track, though, in particular? Like, does this one particularly get you fired up in a particular way like it does me?
Anytime I hear any early Bad Religion from, like, 95 and before, I get amped, man. Like, all their stuff from 95 and before is all great. Like, I don't think they put out a single bad song before 95. You know, like, so fuck,
right.
Pick one, pick them all. Like, I can't say anything about any of those. After 95, that's another discussion, but pre-95, excellent, man. They're gods.
Matt, jump on it, man.
Man, there's not much to jump on after you two are fucking already explained how great this opener is. I mean, Suffer is my favorite Bad Religion album to begin with, and I mean, if you start anything with any song, like Joe said, with Bad Religion, it's a fucking winner for me, dude. Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I mean,
is there any other punk band late 80s, early 90s that are more iconic than Bad Religion? I can't really think of any. They embody punk of the early 90s, right? Like
No Effects is right there
No
with
Effects,
them. Those two are the
they came in a little later, so I'd have to give it to Bad Religion. They were doing it before them.
Well, because
so I give it to Bad Religion, man.
Bad Religion actually started in '81. They broke up after they did this weird prog rock album, which I absolutely love. But like, they were actually an original hardcore band, and if you listen to How Could Hell Be Any Worse, such a good record, man. Just such a little thrasher. But I mean, I understand the term "hit the ground running," but this song, starting with this song, is like waking up in a car that's going 120 already. You know what I mean? Just like it is the greatest way to start like a punk comp. You're just like already into it.
It's like waking up in a car that's just about to get in an accident. It's going out of control, and you just wake up, and all you see is the cars spinning in 360s. Right? That's what this opening is.
Yeah. So
and
good.
It's waking up to a car wreck, and you're in it.
And following up this killer opener, like Joe said, like the first tracks are very quintessential. This whole album rocks. There's no suck on here. But next up, like I just mentioned them, they probably run neck and neck with being like the kings of this era. And we have Don't Call Me White by No Effects, which is actually a really, really kind of good song. It's one of my favorites. It's a song that has a lot of meaning to me because, like, I grew up in kind of the barrio. You know, all my friends were Latino, and I grew up hanging out with them and skating with them. And there would come a time where we would have a conversation, and they'd look at me and be like, "Yeah, dude, but you're white." And I'm like, "Am I really though? I live next door to you. We have the, you know what I mean? Don't call me that shit." Like I never personally ever thought of that as a way to like actually categorize myself as being a white person. So yeah, the whole just theme of the song is like, dude, just don't call me that. Like it has no meaning for me. It's just a gross term, like any kind of judging by skin tone. And yeah, it's one of the reasons why No Effects are the fucking king, or one of the kings. You know what I mean? They, like me and you were saying the other night, man, they pretend to be dumb. So when they say smart shit, you don't have to call them on it and have them argue about it.
Exactly.
They're just like, wait, I said something smart. And like, yeah. And this is one of the times where they really shined and did a very intelligent song, in my opinion.
Yeah. And you can replace the lyrics with any other culture. Like, don't call me this. And the way, like, judge me for what I've done, not for who I am, like that applies to anyone, anything, anywhere. Like, you know, and it's just another song that just shows how progressive No Effects were way back then. Before, they were probably the first and most woke punk band I could think of before woke was even a term. You know, like the issues they tackled and the way they tackled it. Not aggressively, not in your face, like, oh, fuck you, and like they took a lighthearted approach to try to get their message through, so it's easier for people to accept it because they weren't so aggressive and in your face about it. They kind of came about it in a more laid back, comical way, but they got their message through, and it was much more receptive by people because of the way they approached it and delivered their message. And this song is a perfect example of that.
Very well put, Joey. Yeah. I need to quit going last.
I'll go last next time.
There's not much more you can say. Definitely get the message across. I think they're a band that never really takes themselves too seriously whatsoever. I mean, but even the album it's off of, Punk and Drublick, is like a classic. Everybody was into
tougher, you know what I mean? Like, it's arguably even if it's not your favorite, it's probably considered the favorite album of theirs of all time.
Right.
It's not my favorite, but it's my second.
It's not mine either, but everybody listened to this record when it came out. And loved it.
Yes, that little outtake at the end there with the Beavis and Butthead and all the different characters was just everyone loved that. Everyone got a good laugh from that. Yeah.
All right. And zipping right along, next up we have, oh my God, the bass on this song is so good. Really early, Rancid. We have Hyena. And I'm going to go ahead and let Matt go first on this one. Matt, like, what does this track do for you?
Man, this Hyena was always one of my favorite songs off of their, well, I guess you could call it their first full-length record, their self-titled album. This is like one of their more street punk kind of sounding songs, which was like a little grittier, a little dirtier than your typical, like if you're hearing NoFX or something. Like, this is like on the street level instead of like, I don't know, you're kind of California dreaming kind of punk guy. I don't know, it's just got that gritty sound to it. Tim's fucking vocals are just like perfectly laced into that grittiness. And yeah, man, like, this one gets me moving too. Probably even more than the Bad Religion song, to tell you the truth. That fucking riff is sick. Like, yeah, man. From Operation Ivy to this was just a complete turnaround, and I love that they deviated from that sound so much. And yeah, I mean, it's fucking Rancid.
And the early indications of Matt Freeman's incredible bass playing, I mean, it's present on this song. It's not quite Maxwell Murder yet, but he is all over the place on his bass in this song, and it's glorious.
As he just further proves as they go on, man. That dude is fucking ridiculous.
Joey.
Yeah. I love this song. It's great. Rancid. I like pretty much most of their stuff. Let's Go is probably my favorite album. Like, I love every song on that album. I can't think of one song I don't like on that album. This is pretty good. I mean, it makes me think. A lot of vibes from like a lot of the songs from Let's Go. So I was down with this. And I can't remember, Lars came on after which album?
It was after Let's Go, wasn't it?
No, he was on Let's Go. It was right after
his first album was Let's Go, right?
Yeah, he did. Okay. After this, they'll do the song we talk about next. That's the first song they ever recorded with Lars, is I Want to Riot, okay. Which
I wasn't sure if he was. Yeah, I wasn't sure if he was on this one or not, but it's a great song. So once he came on, I love like what he brought to the band. So I wasn't sure because this was a good song and it has like some similar vibes to their other stuff. Because I know their earlier stuff was a little bit different, but I really dig this song. You know, it was good.
Yeah. Speaking of their early stuff.
Oh my God, the EP. Man. Yeah, probably their most unknown thing, but for me, like, this song has my most quoted Rancid line ever. I always say sometimes the lion's share ain't there. I mean, I just love that sentiment. Yeah. The entire song's great. I love this record, actually. I mean, I do love the band with Lars, but this thing just shreds. I mean, and it has some of my favorite songs. I love Rats in the Hallway. I love Detroit. Like, some bangers on the first album, and it's pretty unknown. Most people I know, even that like Rancid, haven't heard it all the way through, which I think is kind of odd, but that's going to be a reoccurring thing with some of these bands in their earlier, lesser known albums.
Yeah,
that will cover.
I think it might, because it was harder to find sometimes, and when you go into the shop, you know, Let's Go and Out Come the Wolves were the two albums you see the most. Yeah. And then you might be able to find some of their other stuff, if depending on which music stores you go into. So that maybe that's why.
Well, and it has a shitty album cover. I'm not gonna lie, like the really badly drawn punk rocker with the handgun. It's just, it looks like an 8-year-old's punk album. So like I can understand people like being like not even knowing that that's actually the same Rancid and not a band that was also called that, because that does happen in punk. You know, there were two subhumans. There's one from Canada and one from England, and so like you will find, you know, duplicate band names every now and then.
I dig that album cover.
You like it? Yeah. I mean,
it's okay.
It's growing on me.
Strong, yeah.
It reminds me more of something you'd see like the Blink 77 having than Rancid, though. But yeah. Zipping right along once again. Next up, we have, oh man, yes. One of the bands that is definitely responsible for me being a punk rocker. We have Sessions by The Offspring. And since I know Joey loves this song a lot, I'm going to let him go first.
Well, first off, I'm not the biggest Offspring fan, but this is my favorite Offspring song. Like, this is, for me, there's no other Offspring song as good as this one. Like, I love it. It goes back to more what fits with Epitaph, like the beats, the guitars, the singing, the pacing. It screams Epitaph. Whereas, like, Smash is a little bit different. It has its lulls. The pacing is in and out. It slows down. It speeds back up. This one, fucking, they just go from start to finish. It's got that constant speed, and I love it, man. Like he says, Sessions, man. It's got a hold of me, man. It's a good song. Great song, man.
Yeah, it's a killer one, and it's off of, like, honestly, the album that nobody knows about. Like, honestly, find a person that has listened to Ignition by The Offspring, and I will give you like $5, because like I don't even think The Offspring remember they put this album out at this point, because like you never hear anything off of it. You never hear anything played from it, and it's so good. It's as good as Smash. It just doesn't have
better.
Like, yeah, they don't do the whoa-ohs, and like there are slight things missing that like from the big album, but Ignition, it rips, man. It is a good like second wave hardcore just romper, man. Like every song makes me want to just remind me of being a kid out there in the circle pit picking up change. You know what I mean? Like when I listen to this song, that's what I want to do, man. I want to just be out there picking up change, you know, doing the old fucking dances.
You like just totally did that, didn't you, Johnny?
Yeah, I just picked up some change right here in my room.
Like most people, the first time I heard of Offspring was what's the Keep It Together? What's it? Their most popular song, their first single.
Keep Them Separated.
Keep Them Separated was the first thing I heard from them. And then I heard Sessions on, must have been a skate or a snowboard movie. And I was like, holy fuck, where does this come from? Not on Smash. I got to find this shit because this is fucking way better than Smash. So, you know, that's...
Yeah, it's definitely played at, I don't know, a half step up. I mean, it's definitely... Some of the album tracks on Smash are very reminiscent to this, though.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not really the hit songs, though. Not like "Gotta Get Away." I guess that's probably their most draggy ass song that they did. Well, at least early Offspring, good Offspring did. But yeah, dude, like this song's great. I'm actually surprised they didn't put "Kick Him While He's Down" on this, because that's usually, if you're gonna hear anything off Ignition, it's usually that album. So, but glad they put Sessions on, because like Joey said, man, this song just shreds. And yeah, it could have been a single. I definitely think it would have did better in those Crazy Taxi games than those Ixnay on the Ombre songs they put on there. This song makes me want to get in my car and just like speed, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to work and I'm going to get there in 3 minutes instead of 12.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got anything else you want to say, Matt?
Yeah, I think I'm just put on this show to disagree with everyone at this point.
That's all right, man.
Like, Offsprings, they're okay. Like, I remember hearing them, like most people, the first thing you heard was when Smash fucking blew up. But I don't know, this one for me is just that kind of typical every Offspring song sound to me. I mean, it doesn't blow me away, but it's not awful. You know, sorry guys.
Hey, that's all right. Like I said, I'm not the biggest Offspring fan either, but I love this song.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
I have an affinity for a certain era of the band. Like, they did lose me after Americana for the most part, but I still buy their records when they come out.
There you go. Nothing wrong with that, man. You're loyal.
Yeah.
We can edit that later.
Zipping right along, we have another band that became...
Wait. Everyone just left the chat after you said that, man. Yeah, there's no one left in the chat. Fuck. No, I'm just kidding.
Here comes another one that became really important to me. Well, one of my favoriteest bands of this era. I kind of fell off with them after a while too, but this is Dying to Know by Pennywise. It's a really good song. I like it. I like that Jim tries to sing a little bit like Jack Grissom from TSOL. I just hate the echo effect that he throws on his voice. Like, it throws the whole song off a little bit. It's a nitpick. It's a shit pick, but it is a little infuriating when you know how good Pennywise is and you're like, why are you throwing in vocal distortions like Kesha, man? Like, you're Pennywise.
Yeah,
Matt, how you feel?
I mean, if you know what Pennywise sounds like, it sounds like that. But then the way they recorded his voice on this album is just fucking whack, man. Like, it just ruins that. It ruins Pennywise on this entire album. I don't know why they went along with this vocal recording choice, but I'm glad they never did it again. But I mean, it's Pennywise, and
it rips. Like, you won't turn it off if you're skating. You know what I mean? You'll just get out there and shred to it.
Yeah, Pennywise is probably one of the most skated to bands of all time. So it's not about time quality by any means, but it's Pennywise at their early stages. It's good.
Well, this is the fifth song or the sixth?
Fifth.
This is fifth.
So now we've covered basically what Epitaph built their foundation on. These first 5 bands is pretty much what Epitaph built their foundation on, and they open with their hard hitters, like a good compilation should. And I'm gonna go against the grain, and I like the distortion on the voice on this, man. I dig it. I really do. I have no issues with it. I'm fucking down with it, man. And I like pretty much all bands pre-95, right? Pennywise pre-95, they're great. Same thing with NoFX, same thing with Bad Religion. Give me anything pre-95 and I'm down with it. And this is just another one that's back in the early days. I love Pennywise. Back in the early days. Can't say anything bad about them. And even with the distortion on the voices, man, they fucking rock it.
Man, I don't know about the chat people, but I'm leaving.
See ya, man. It was nice. Yeah. It was nice while you were here.
You like the Kesha vocal distortions. It's not punk rock.
It's all right, man.
I like I
Try
said,
something
man,
new.
I can still listen to this song and get jiggy with it. It's just when I stop and thinking about it, I'm like, why did they do that though? It doesn't really sound that good. You know what I mean? Like, it would. I think the song would have rocked a lot better if they didn't put the echo effect in. Personally, but like I said, it's a shit pick. It's not even a nitpick.
Yeah.
Moving right along, we're going to talk about, in what is, in my opinion, one of probably the greatest rock songs ever written. I absolutely adore this track. It's one of my favorite Rancid songs. It's hard to say, man. I love so much Rancid, but I Want to Riot by Rancid. It's one of the first songs they recorded with Lars Fredriksson, and this thing is just like a downright gangster rap hardcore jam set to a 2-tone ska bass line, and it just kills me every time I hear it. I'm the kid that wants to throw a brick and then get protection for doing it in the song. You know what I mean? Like, I want to riot when I hear it. You know what I mean? How do you feel about it, Matt?
Yeah, I dig it. It's, early Lars is always fun. But I think they did these type of songs way better on Life Won't Wait. It's got the raw quality though that I like, which is like way different than the sound on Life Won't Wait. So
yeah,
like
well, the thing about Life Won't Wait is more traditional first wave Jamaican ska, whereas this was, I can understand why this didn't get put on one of their early albums, because it's too similar to Op Ivy.
Right.
And they wanted Rancid to sound like Rancid, not Op Ivy. Whereas this you would confuse this, and you're like, well, why does Jesse not sound right? You know, if you didn't know that, like, that's Lars and not Jesse singing.
Right.
With Tim. But I mean, Tim's vocalization in this is just so gangster, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not kidding. Like, this thing, you could put this on like one of those early Death Row record comps, and like it would be right at home in between Ice Cube and not Ice Cube, but like Tupac and Snoop songs and shit, dude. Like, I ain't kidding.
I would have listened to this if like early Snoop was on it, like Death Row Records, like little Snoop feature.
Or put Ice-T on there, man.
They'd be down. I'm pretty like Rancid's
always. What was his hardcore shit he did? What, Body Count or whatever? What was that that he was on?
Yeah, Body Count.
He probably would have been down with some Rancid, you know, doing a little shit with them.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this track, Joey? Does it
Love
get
it.
you like it gets me?
I fucking love it. I can't get enough of it. I mean, I could listen to it 12 times in a row and wouldn't get sick of it. It's good. It's solid. It's got Lars, you know?
It's kind of just definitive Rancid sounding, too. Like, when you hear this, you know you're listening to Rancid. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Whereas, like, Hyena, you're not really quite sure. They weren't quite Rancid yet. But by the time Lars joined and they recorded this sounds like Rancid, like the band that we all know and love and listen to for, I don't even know how many records they have out now. Like, they just keep going too. They're like, out of all the bands that are on this, they're the only ones that I really, really love all their releases and I keep up with like on a constant basis.
I mean, you got Tim Armstrong just with his raspy mumbling that you barely understand. I mean, what's not to love? You know, it's there.
Plus, I mean, he's a good storyteller too when you can't understand him. But like, yeah, he's incredible. I think that he is completely underrated in this, even now, as a poet songwriter. You know what I mean? Like, the guy's incredible.
Hey, there's a reason why he's still getting work and doing multiple projects with other people, and people want to work with him. There's a reason for that.
Yeah, agreed.
Next up, we have the only song I think that doesn't quite fit with the rest of the comp. I mean, I love this band. I like this song, and I like this style of punk rock. We have Riot City by Total Chaos. So you got this kind of like this really skater kind of California type thing. And then all of a sudden this band comes in, and it's straight up boots and hair glue, street punk, straight from England. I mean, like, you like your GBH and your UK subs, like that's where this song hits from. And it's a really pulse pounding, really good song, but it's a little out of place. Am I right on this one?
Yeah, for sure. It's like you're listening to the thing, and then this pops on, and you're like, oh, this is real punk. Like, like these dudes are squatting in a house in fucking London somewhere, like sniffing glue, like between like practicing their songs, like super dirty squatter punk guys. So yeah, it didn't fit the rest of the album, but it's a great song.
I disagree, and I think it fits perfectly. This song is like a fucking slap in the face halfway through. It's like, if you're falling asleep, I'm slapping you in the face to wake you the fuck up. This song makes me think if Ministry did a punk song, it would sound exactly like this, man. Oh, I love this song. This is my favorite song on the album. I can't get enough of this song. I love this song. And it's, oh yeah, halfway through, it's like, you know, you get, then all of a sudden this hits, you're like, whoa, what the fuck is this? Like, stop. Like, everyone just stops and turns like, what the fuck? You know, what just happened, man? It's like watching a car wreck live in the middle of the album. I loved it. I think it's great. It's kind of like you said. It's abrupt. It's brash. It's punk. You know.
Yeah.
All these other bands were being polite, and all of a sudden these guys show up to the party, and they're like, "Fuck you guys! You're all posers. Let's get to it."
Yeah.
And I think that's what it does for this compilation. It fucking slaps you in the face. You're starting to get into like this nice little. We're all new age punk and we're being polite, and then these guys come and be like, fuck you. The finger to the face, and they just slap you in it. I love it. I love it.
It's a stomper, and like every time I hear the chorus, yeah, man, every time they say Riot City, I got my fist in the air. But yeah, you're just grooving along, listening to, and then all of a sudden you just hear like Riot City, yeah, Riot City, and it's like I'm down with it. It's a little unexpected, I guess. Thinking of it your way, it is beautifully done though, because it's just out of nowhere.
Right in the middle, right? Isn't that the like? If you count the songs out, I think that's exactly right in the middle of the compilation.
Yeah, it's number 7 out of 16, so it's close. It's one away from being dead middle. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's a good track. I love Total Chaos. I actually was surprised they didn't get more popular when like the kind of true punk stuff broke big, all the hair glue and boot bands. Like I loved all that shit, but like I always wondered why they didn't get, because like they didn't break up until 2016. So I don't know why they didn't catch on when like people finally started listening to like the Casualties and House Rotten and shit.
Yeah.
But yeah,
probably too late. Like we said, no Spotify, no internet. You know, it's probably hard to find their albums. And unless you start getting that traction, man, you can't, you know, stores don't order your shit unless you start getting a little bit of traction. People start picking it up. You know, you need that one little.
Well, and they were from a bad area for it too. Yeah. I don't think there was a lot of Brit style boot punk in LA when Total Chaos was doing their thing. I think most bands sounded like No Effects and stuff.
No Effects, yeah. People were so into the No Effects, you know, that
definitely the most ripped off sound of that era was the No Effects. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cruising right along. We have a pretty interesting, neat little track here. I have a lot of fun with this one. It's called Crooked Bird by a band called Gas Huffer. It's got this really kind of nice, like, surf rock guitar interludes to it. And I don't know, it's just kind of a neat little driving adventure song. I mean, it reminds me of like when you're watching a cowboy movie and like the cowboy's getting ready to go to the big showdown, especially in the chorus. Like this song would fit so perfectly if you ever made like a punk rock cowboy movie and we're like for the big showdown where like they're gonna have the gunfight, like just play this song, go into it. It fits so perfectly.
Yeah, this song is like, for me, if Clint Eastwood was riding his horse through the desert and like took a hit of acid and then started surfing, is exactly what this song is. It's like a Western surf punk song, and it's really original. Like you didn't hear anything sound like this. And when was this? 94, 95? Joe's gonna fucking smack some life into me with whatever he says, but yeah, man, I thought this was pretty good just on originality alone.
And what's disappointing is this band only had the one album, from what I remember. It only had one album that I could find, and like they were good. If you like this track, like the whole thing was so much fun. Gas Huffer.
This song is the first song on the album that I saw influences from the Dead Kennedys, and I was like, yes, fucking right. No punk compilation is complete without a band or the Dead Kennedys on it, or a band influenced by the Dead Kennedys. And there's some slight influences. This is one of two songs that I can say that I can definitely see influence of Dead Kennedys on this band. And there's one other one we'll get to later, but this is definitely one where it just, in the back of my head, I can just hear Jello Biafra, you know, like, and the riffs from the Dead Kennedys. They had that surf vibe to a lot of their songs too, and it just brings me back to Dead Kennedys, this song, a little bit, and it's just a nice, fun, comfy place for me.
It's a little more groovy like home than Dead Kennedys.
Yeah, for sure, but it has a little bit of that vibe to it.
Yeah, it's got that surf guitar vibe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, really solid track, really good. Just show you like all the weird stuff you could expect to see at a punk show at this time, because I remember I would go and see. Like, I would pay to see Face to Face, and then, like, yeah, you would see a band like this, and you'd see the Voodoo Glow Skulls, and it was like an eclectic showing of all the different styles punk had to offer. It wasn't just you went and saw a bunch of bands that all sounded the same, kind of like how it is now if you go to a punk show, sadly.
Yeah.
But kind of zipping right along once again, we have a one of the more mediocre ones on the album, but I still like it. It's called "We're Back, We're Pissed" by Rich Kids on Acid, also known as RKL. It's neat. The guitar player and the bass player are really tight, man. They riff really strong, and in a weird way, this song reminds me of a punk rock version of the song "Flirting with Disaster" by Molly Hatchet. I mean, it sounds like really similar to it, even the vocaling styles, but at the same time, it also kind of reminds me that, like, if they were still making Chevy Chase vacation movies, this song could totally be the opening song for one of them. It kind of has that type of charm to it. Am I right?
I don't know about charm. I don't know.
You're not far off. You're not far off, because I have a similar kind of comment about it after.
Yeah, it's definitely got that vacation vibe to it, and like you said, the bass is my favorite part of this about this song. The guitars are solid as well, but man, as soon as that dude's voice kicks in, I can't do it anymore. It's
really over the top, I do admit. It's like if you would imagine what a cartoon punk band would sound like, and it kind of sounds like
this is it.
Guy.
Yeah.
He's like a pink hippopotamus singing or something.
Yeah.
What you got, Joe?
Every time I hear this song, there's one thing that I can't get out of my mind. Rocky Horror Picture Show. This song would fit so well on that movie. Every time I hear it, I can't stop thinking of, is it Tim Curry? I can picture Tim Curry dressed as the lead singer of this band. That's all I can picture. That's all I can picture when I hear this song. Rocky Horror Picture Show. Tim Curry, frontman of, what were they called?
RKL.
RKL. Tim Curry is the frontman of RKL, man.
If Tim Curry was the frontman of this band, then they'd be good.
I would definitely go see them live, that's for sure. Be sad that they're broke up. Like, damn.
But it has that kind of energy and feel, I find. For some reason, every time I hear it, I can't stop picturing Tim Curry and his outfit and everything. I don't know. It just gives me that kind of, gives off that vibe for
me. But I mean, it's a cute little jam, right? I mean, it keeps things moving along.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Like, you wouldn't fast forward it on your Walkman while you're skateboarding, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't fast forward it. I skipped it entirely.
I just didn't record it when I dubbed it over to tape. Yeah, I gotcha.
But there are redeeming qualities because, like Matt, I kind of start listening to it and I'm like, then all of a sudden something kicks in where you're like, okay, it brings you back in, you know? Like, it almost loses you, like it almost goes off the road, then it swerves back in and gets back in its lane.
You've got more patience than I do, brother.
I'm just impressed by how tight the guitar player and bass player are.
Yeah,
like, at least if on recording, like that song is tight, dude. It's really well produced.
There.
It's oddly the best produced song on the album too. It's louder than all the rest of them. I mean, it sounds like it was done in a real studio and not like in your garage like a lot of the other bands sound.
Which is why I think it has that quality like a musical. Right? It has that production quality of a musical and the stylings and the energy. And, you know, like you said, it would fit in a movie. Like if there was a musical, you throw this song in there, it'd fit right in with the rest of them.
Just Tim Curry and the Frankfurter outfit, though, man.
Fucking right, man. Yeah. If I had a punk band, I'd dress like Tim Curry and I'd front my band dressed like him, man.
I've seen you dressed like Tim Curry.
Every Saturday night.
That's right, baby.
Well, that's kinky. Keeping this party train going, we have a very early entry from one of the most influential bands in my life. Once again, we have The Offspring with Jennifer Lost the War. This song is just amazing in my opinion. I can't believe they wrote this when they were kids and performed this when they were kids, because you would swear this song came off of Smash. If you just go and listen to it, it's so tight. Like the Offspring always just sounded like, or at least the early Offspring always just sounded like the band that they always were going to be. And I dig it. I love the subject matter of the song. That's why I know that it couldn't be a single, because they talk about war crimes and certain things in a very kind of sardonically sarcastic way of like asking you listening that like, yeah, we're talking about it and it's messed up, but do you actually care after the song's over? Are you going to remember these names? Are you going to think about them? And I appreciate that. That's why I love this certain era and time period in punk rock. That type of snottiness, it just didn't last. I think maybe it died in '95 because that's when the band stopped being so good, because they stopped having that kind of witticisms about themselves, I think.
Go for
How
it,
do you guys
Joey.
feel about this song?
Yeah. This is, every time I hear this song, it makes me think of Green Day's Kerplunk album. The drums with the snare and the hi-hat, just the quick, it just makes me think of almost every song on Kerplunk. Like the drum playing is almost identical to every song on Kerplunk. It just makes me think of that album. Like it sounds really poppy compared to a lot of their other earlier stuff. Like you said, it's a foreshadowing of what they're going to become, because they're going to become a pop punk band, right? And this song perfectly shows you what they will eventually become. And like, I have no issues with it. It's a fun song. It's catchy. I like it. I mean, I have nothing negative to say about it, but it's definitely probably one of the more poppy songs on it, I find, like, overall, like the sound, and yeah, it was good. It's a good jam.
Yeah, I agree with what both of you guys said. I think the impressive part for me was how young they were when they recorded this, and like just the subject matter alone for a band that was so young. And I'm sure this has got to be soon after they, are first starting and whatnot, to try and tackle that subject matter and write the musical content to it so well. I think that's pretty strong.
And they recorded it in '88. I was 6 or 7 when we're doing this. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just pretty. I think it blows me away. And then, like you said, like there's actually a home recorded music video for this song, and like just look at Dexter in this, man. Like he looks he looks like he's ready to go to Chuck E. Cheese and have some pizza after this.
He looks like he's 11-teen.
11-teen.
Looks like a total 11-year-old. But I've always just I don't know, I liked this song. I thought it was probably one of their better ones. And I think that like they could have, if they would have marketed this right, they could have been a huge band right out of the gate. I mean, nothing sounded like this in '88, and as far as I know, like, yeah, No Effects was barely coming up at that time. So like they made this sound themselves a long time ago, which I think is pretty cool. You know what I mean?
Like I said, Green Day made a living off making this kind of sound. Like their albums sounded like this song.
Well, Green Day
went huge,
and they were children when they recorded Kerplunk too, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like they were young when they recorded those first couple albums.
So it's great. Like these young guys with all this energy, all this talent, being able to, get out there and get their voices heard. It's and putting out like solid albums. Like Kerplunk was a solid album. I can't think of any horrible song on that album. Like that's a fucking solid album.
I agree.
Yeah, even the cover of My Generation was good. Like
yeah, it was really good.
Zipping right along from there, we have a song that I would like to consider from a band that would be your older brother in college's favorite punk rock band. We have Bright Green Globe by Down by Law. This is a pretty decent track. Very similar to bands, I would say, like Bouncing Souls and maybe a little Screeching Weasel in there. Yeah, it was kind of like the highbrow of punk stuff at the time. It's a good song, though. It rips. It's got really good palm muted parts, and like the rest of this, I wouldn't skip it while I was skating. You know what I mean? Even though I probably wouldn't buy the album.
Yeah, I skipped the fuck out of this one. It's just not mine, man. This is your grandpa's punk. I wasn't digging it.
It's your older brother's favorite band. He went to Harvard. He rode for Crew. All right.
All right.
Call me grandpa, because I love this album, and I like this song, and I love this album.
I love you, Grandpa.
So, and I am the older guy on the panel, so it just makes sense that I love this, right? No, I like this. This is Punk Rock Academy Fight Songs, I think, is the album. And
yeah,
I love this album. And the only reason why I knew about this band is because of that cover they did. Because at the time, I was like making mixtapes of punk covers of all kinds of songs. Like you had Lagwagon, you had these guys, you had all kinds, and I was making myself mixtapes of all punk covers of songs I love, like that I liked, and that's how I got to know these guys. And I went and got the album that was on, and I fell in love with that album. So I love this song, like Grandpa, you know.
Well, it's not my favorite, but when I was younger, when I was younger, I probably would have totally skipped it. But looking back and seeing like what pop punk became, I almost yearn for bands that sounded like this again. You know, like that kind of Bouncing Souls-ish, Screeching Weasel sound. Because
if you go listen to the album, there's a lot more variety on it than you'd think.
Yeah. I do like Down by Law. Just this song is not a good representation of them for me.
It's got that weird hippie chanting, and it's like, why are you doing hippie shit on a punk album, man?
Yeah.
Like,
and if you watch the Crow soundtrack episode we did, you'll hear how I feel about fucking hippie bands. So
the Fulci and Mary chain.
Hey, I like the fucking audio thing on Pennywise, and I don't mind the chanting on this one, you know? Give me those fucking sound effects in the songs. I don't mind it.
but retrospectively, looking back at bands like this and this song, I really like revisiting it and like being able to actually appreciate it for what it was at the time. Because, young me, I just wanted to hear the song that came after this one. You know what I mean? The next song we're going to talk about is like literally like my shit, like what I like lived for.
Let's get to it then.
You guys ready to get to that? Next up, we have the second Pennywise album, a song on it. This is Open Door. This is off of the self-titled album. This is just such a banger, dude. This is a slammer. Would have me in the circle pit picking up change. Like this is what I lived for. I loved this style of hardcore. It's like Bad Religion cranked up to 25, and it shreds, man. It rips. Jim sings so good on it. Fletcher's guitar playing so fucking tight. Like, how do you guys get down with this one?
I'm just glad they took that fucking vocal bullshit off of Jimmy's voice. And yeah, man, this is like early Pennywise, and they're like the pinnacle of them. And again, like we said, basically with the last one, everybody was fucking listening to Pennywise back then. And yeah, man, I love the song.
I concur. I love the self-titled album. Is what, their second or first album?
Their first, I believe.
It's their first, And I was listening to Pennywise right from that album. That's the first album I ever listened to way back in the day. I had to cross the border and go to Burlington to this underground CD shop where they had just rarities, right? And we went and bought the Pennywise album there, slapped it in the fucking player on the way home, and that was my first time experiencing Pennywise, driving down the highway, man.
That's awesome.
It was fucking great. Yeah.
It's a hell of an album, too.
Yeah, with the Pennywise the Clown song. I was like, oh, fuck, they actually, they did it, man. They did it. Yeah, I was like, all right, I'm down.
Right. Johnny's favorite song.
Well, they're one of the few bands that have a self-titled album and a song about themselves on their self-titled album. So it's an album called Pennywise by a band called Pennywise, and there's a song called Pennywise. That's the triple crown right there, man.
That's right, man.
I don't know of any other bands that have done that.
And that album is fucking solid from start to finish. So
if you want to know what like the best of this era sounded like, this is probably one of the better albums you could pick up and listen to, with Suffer and like No Control by Bad Religion's another good one. What would you guys say? No Effects. I know I would go personally with S&M Airlines. Matt likes Heavy Petting Zoo. Joe, what would be your No Effects album you'd like put this up with?
Two Beans, man. That's my favorite No Effects album.
Which we'll get to very shortly.
Yeah, we got that album.
I listened to, like, I'm surprised my CD hasn't worn out yet. Well, I bought it on vinyl now, so Benito will probably groove it out. So
I remember seeing you show that not too long ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that album.
Yeah,
I think that's the first one with the new guitarist, right? The Two Beans was the first one with
El Jefe.
Yeah,
I think they recorded an EP with him before that.
It's possible, but full-length album, I think that was...
Yeah.
They started going away from that speed hardcore stuff and came into what everyone knows more or less what NoFX is today.
Yeah, this is definitely
He definitely helped shape that part of NoFX.
Yeah, that album's definitely...
He does all kinds of voices. Like, he's the mastermind behind all those funny songs and...
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, Open Door. It's a minute and 42 seconds of just adrenaline. Killer track. Definitely one of my favorites off of the whole comp, to tell you the truth. I wish they would have had this as the first Pennywise song. I don't know. Maybe it just kind of helps pick up the pace. You guys got any last words on it?
Anyone who says this is their least favorite Pennywise album, kick you to the curb and never talk to me again.
Yeah, like, you need to listen to better music if that's what.
Fuck off. If like this is your least favorite Pennywise album, then you can go fuck yourself.
Yeah, go listen to fucking Jesus and the Mary Chain. Fucking pussy.
Next.
Next up we have Crack in the Universe by Wade Kramer. This is a neat little ditty, man. Like, it kind of is like one of those like trash blues songs that, like, you'd hear in a Robert Rodriguez movie, kind of set to like these really moody, sad stories that then get dragged into some cosmic weirdness with the Crack in the Universe chorus. It reminds me of like Vault Comics. I could see Vault doing a book based on this, where they do this like really messed up noir story, and they're like, yeah, but it didn't happen because of human error. There's a crack in the universe. We got some cosmic stuff going on. And I don't know, I really enjoy this track. I think it's pretty neat. I think it goes on a little too long, but there's some really great complementary parts to it. Like, there's some really, really good harmonica parts to it. I love good blues harp playing. And the solo in it's really weird because it has like this acid rocky, like Led Zeppelin type solo, and like the rest of it's kind of like I said, it's like one of those Robert Rodriguez like slutty bar blues jams, and it's a decent addition to the soundtrack. I mean, to this comp. I really like the song. Never heard of him before I listened to this, so I'm not familiar with Wayne Kramer, but this track bangs. And like, I'm really happy for Joey for introducing it to me, because I might check this kid out. He seems pretty interesting.
This song is probably the song that you said about Riot City. I find this song is probably the one that fits the least within the whole compilation. Not that I don't like it. I like it because I was big time into John Spencer's Blues Explosion back in the day. Yeah, Blues Explosion. I love that band. I loved all their earlier stuff, like Orange. What was it? I Got Worry and Acme. I love those three albums, and this definitely has that bluesy kind of weird vibe to it, kind of like the John Spencer. I just felt it didn't really fit in with the rest. This is probably the odd song out that I was like, you're getting into it, and all of a sudden this plays, and you're like, oh, well, this is a little different, but it's not bad in any ways. Like you said, the harmonica parts it adds some punch and it gets a little more aggressive. Like, it's weird to say harmonica adds an aggressive edge to a song, but it does that in this song, and it's great. It's a good application to the song with that nice little touch.
Yeah, like Joey said, it definitely, you hear it and you're like, where the fuck did this come from, and why is it on this fucking album? But at the same time, it's definitely like the most experimental track on this, and it's like a spacey acid jazz blues song, and it's really fun to listen to, actually. I didn't hate it. Yeah, I think you guys pretty much covered anything else you needed to know about it.
I think it's the tone they got out of the harmonica. I mean, like it's like squealing in a way I'd never heard, and it just sounds good though. It's raunchy harmonica playing, man. Almost it sounds like a guitar in a way. You know what I mean? Like good.
You almost want more of it, but maybe more would have been too much. You know, maybe it was just the right amount.
All right, probably getting to the last song we're really going to heap praise on too. We have the second NoFX song on here. This is off of Joey's favorite album, Two Heaps, White Trash, and a Bean. This is Liza and Louise. Well, this song is both one of the crudest and vulgarest songs you could probably listen to. It's also just a really, really down-to-earth, heartwarming, and cute love story about two girls that discover true happiness with one another. And like Joey said earlier, man, it's just the way that NoFX tackles things with their sense of humor that, like, it disarms you. It makes this song... this song is practically the better version of the Kevin Smith movie Chasing Amy, in my opinion. Like...
Yeah.
You guys want to get into this?
I love this song so much, and I love the characters that Fat Mike came up with for this song. No one was singing about lesbians in this scene like this at all. I know that they've got a bunch of other songs in future albums that revisit these characters, so you kind of get like almost the full story of their lives, and I've always really dug that. Like, if you know anything about Fat Mike, he's really into like S&M, and
he's a weird little fat
he's
bastard.
A fucking freak, and he's fucking awesome. He's definitely a one-of-a-kind guy, and yeah, man, I love these two characters, Liza and Louise, and if I listen to one of the songs, I have to go back and I'll find this record. I'll put this song on, and I have to listen to every, like, is it a trilogy? Is there only 3 songs? Is it Liza and Louise, and then Liza, and then Louise, I think? I don't know. But there's multiple songs about these characters that forms an overall story, and I love every song that involves these characters.
I think the one lyric where it goes, "I remember the first time you kissed me. Now I want you to fist me."
No,
right. Yeah.
That sums it up right there. I don't have to say anything more. That was in 90. That came out in what, 94, 93, 94? Like, I mean, there you go. Yeah. Who was singing that in 93, 94? I'm sorry.
Nobody.
Yeah, this is probably like the most NoFX song you could probably find too. Like, if you want to know if you like this band or not, like, this song will set you straight. Like, you will either come out as a fan or maybe hate them. I don't know. Is there midway NoFX fans? Because I've noticed that you either like them or you don't.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know anybody that just dabbles in NoFX.
Yeah. No, I love them, man. Like, especially this album. I mean, this is NoFX for me.
Yeah, Two Heaps, White Trash, and a Bean's a good time on record, man. That's for sure.
Agreed,
actually,
man.
All their early stuff is up until So Long and Thanks for the Fish. That was kind of when they started dragging ass.
I love that album too.
But then George W. Bush got elected and like saved the band because they got pissed off and started doing punk rock again. And yeah, and like they still rock. I still check out NoFX's stuff when they do stuff because Fat Mike cracks me up. Like, I was watching this thing where he was talking about he did some punk rock bowling thing and like he pissed Henry Rollins off, and Henry Rollins is going to beat him up at this thing. So he was talking shit about him on this interview, and it was just hilarious because he's just such a little shit. And I don't know. Yeah, he's like Johnny Rotten, and Johnny Rotten was actually as cool as he thought he was. You know what I mean? Type of thing.
I have a Fat Mike story. So I saw him at a festival, and he was doing his solo act, which is called Cokie the Clown. And so he came out at the beginning of the set with a bottle of tequila and a big tray. So he poured just pretty much the whole bottle on a full tray of shot glasses, started handing them out to the crowd, you know. Everybody's taking shots. He does his set, yada, 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 you know, everybody's cool. He leaves the stage, you know, they start clearing it off. And then he comes back out with a TV and a VHS player and pops this tape in. And it's him pissing in the tequila bottle that he just, then it shows him walking out on stage after he pisses in the bottle. And he's got it recorded of every single person taking those shots of his piss. That's Fat Mike in a nutshell for you.
So did you take a shot?
I did not. Thank Christ. And I would have.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm pretty sure I would have known that was not fucking tequila, though.
I thought you were going to say he put like fucking mescaline or LSD or some shit in it and be like, here, guys, watch this for the next 12 hours.
I don't think Fat Mike shares drugs. I don't think, you know.
Yeah, he'd definitely keep those for himself.
Take them all, yeah.
Yeah, he's a character, man. Like, he's a guy that you either like or you don't. He's very abrasive, but I'm glad to have him in my life. You know what I mean? He's been a positive influence, in my opinion. And his storytelling, much like Tim Armstrong, like this song, like I said, it has some really coarse parts, like Joey pointed out. But the song itself, it's so cute. It's wonderful. It's like they met each other and like they never have to worry about it. And you know she wanted more. And it's like the comic Sunstone in a way, but more vulgar. Yes.
I want Joey to do that fucking fisting move again so bad.
Yeah,
do it.
The anime one. Yeah.
Oh, the triple.
Yeah. Yeah, the anime fisting.
Fucking triple fucking action from the inside. It's just coming from everywhere. Fucking
right.
Yeah.
I need to get a Joey action figure like that. You know, you flip the switch on the back and you got the double fisting action.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
God damn.
Mel needs a gif of your anime fisting, Joey. Yes. I agree.
Yeah, it should be the world needs it.
What was that movie called again? I never remember the name of it.
Legend of the Overfiend.
Yep.
So go watch Legend of the Overfiend and you'll know what I was doing.
All right. Next up, we have a pretty decent band. I mean, like they just kind of were another Pennywise, but that's okay because you know sometimes you ran out of Pennywise to listen to, so it kind of helped to have a band like 10-Foot Pole around. And this song is called "My Wall." This guy kind of really set the punk rock world on fire. I forget his name. He was a pro baseball player, and he quit playing baseball to become a punk rocker. And this was his first band. He caught some steam with this, but his band after this, Pulley, we'll talk about in the next episode, really set the pop punk world on fire. But this track rocks. I dig it. I like all three of the 10-Foot Pole songs I've heard. And like I said, man, you like Pennywise's sound, you can really rock the fuck out to this band.
Yeah, man. I remember this is the first song I ever heard from them, and it had to have been off of this comp. So like, and I remember hearing this for the first time and immediately wanting to go skate. Like this song pumped me the fuck up. And that opening fucking with the bass line and then, you know, the guitars hitting in with it. Like, I don't know. This was like my favorite song off of this the first time I ever heard it. So there you go.
Yeah, I was in college when this came out, and like you said, everyone's like, they're the next big punk band. Like you said, they were hot right out of the gate. Like everyone was like, these guys are awesome. And you know, they never really did much.
Yeah, nothing ever happened.
Yeah. And I just remember the poster. Like I saw posters of 10-Foot Pole everywhere with the rooster, I think. Was it a rooster? If I remember correctly.
It was like a kid on a go-kart or some shit.
Anyway, it was like a blue sky. You see a lot of blue sky. Anyway, and I saw that poster everywhere I went. Everywhere. Yeah. And it's a good song. Like, a lot of people got hyped, but it's a really fucking good song. And, like, it finishes great. Just the riff with just the screaming, woo woo.
Yeah.
You know, like it's good. It's a good way to close out a song. You know,
Right.
like yeah, man, it's time to party. You're like, all right, we're done singing. Let's party now. Party time. Let's get to drinking. Let's get to doing whatever the fuck it is you're doing, but let's do it.
It was definitely drinking back then.
I think what held this band back from actually being the next big thing in punk is the name, dude. 10-foot pole. It's shit, right? Like,
Yeah,
I know
that's a pretty bad name.
I know Brett Gurewitz, the guy who runs Epitaph, always gives Tim crap because he thinks Rancid's a terrible name for a punk band. But I agree with Rancid. Yeah, I agree with Tim that like Rancid's actually a punk rock name. Like 10-foot pole, like what are you cleaning a swimming pool or something? What the hell does that name mean, man? Like, are you working on concrete? You know, like you got the like.
Maybe because the saying, I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. Maybe like going against the grain, they tackle subject matter that people normally wouldn't talk about.
Well, they do
that. That's what I got from
yeah.
it. You know, like we're going to talk about shit no one would even dare talk about. So I think maybe that's what they were going for. I don't know.
Well, I mean, even dude's popular band Pulley, I thought kind of had like a what kind of name, you know, like has. But yeah, he's definitely an interesting character. I mean, like a pro sports guy that like throws all that away to be a punk singer. That's pretty gangster, and like he is a good writer. He wrote some really thoughtful songs, and this song's one of them. If you actually listen to it, the subject matter of the song, it's a hard hitting track.
Oh yeah, I can't say anything bad about it. I mean, it's 10-foot pole. This is pretty much them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And like Matt said, like, dude, this song will make you want to skate or pick up change depending on like whether you're out at your friend's house or you're at the show and they're playing this song. So yeah. Or maybe doing the lawnmower or like the battering ram and all the other different slam dances. I always just go to pick up change because it's, you know, the most iconic.
Because you need some change.
And like Smash Mouth said, man, we can all use a little change, all right?
Yeah, I hope we edit that out.
Nah, man, we're talking pop punk. Smash Mouth's right at home, dude. And
is that Smash Mouth like on the outs with the woke community or some shit? I don't remember. Did they do a show and say something, and then now everyone's all mad with them?
They played a show during COVID, and it pissed people off. That I remember that, but whatever. They need money, all right? Shrek soundtracks don't pay off as good as you think.
They need to be lit on fire.
It doesn't take much to piss people off these days anyway, so...
Yeah, all you got to do is put one of their songs on, and it does it for me.
Last track on the album, it's actually a really solid one, really good one, like me and Joey were saying. Like, it's got this really nice, like, outro. Well, it's got an intro that matches it, but the outro is really good because it cushions you, and it's just like a proper end to, like, a good comp. This song is called Reality is a Ride on the Bus by a band called SNFU, and I've always pretty much enjoyed this band because they do a great job of sounding like early TSOL, but at the same time they do their own style with it, and they just fucking rip. This is a really solid track, and it has a nice kind of like mellowed out towards the end thing where it just kind of lets the album taper instead of just abruptly ending like a lot of punk comps do.
Yeah, this is SNFU is like one of those bands that like people were almost afraid to be into back then, at least in my circle. And then like you found someone that was like, yeah, I actually dig them, and then you're like, yeah, I do too. I like how, like you said, it definitely cushions the end of the album. It's got that kind of like slow jam beginning, and then it kind of starts going hard, and then it goes back to that to kind of end the comp that way. And I know you like Comeback Kid a lot, Johnny. They cover this exact song, and yeah, you'll dig it, man. It's
nice.
It's basically just Comeback Kid vocals on top of this, so you'll dig it, man. I made sure to write that down so you'd be able to hear it.
Right on.
Yeah. This song is the second song that I was referring to that gives me the Dead Kennedys vibes. The singer of SNFU, I I wouldn't be surprised if you interviewed him. He says that Jello Biafra is a huge influence on his style, the way he sings and stuff. I would not be surprised, because you definitely get that flair from his style of singing that he channels as like a little bit of his inner Jello Biafra there. Some of the riffs that he belts out. Like, so I really dig it, because I love Dead Kennedys, and you know, anything that makes me think of Dead Kennedys a little, I'll enjoy. And the outro, like we said, is perfect. Boom. It just, you know, puts you to bed, nice, and tucks you in, and gives you a kiss on the forehead, and that's it.
Because that's what punk does for everybody, or at least what it should, right?
Yeah. You can't be fucking kicking shins and knocking teeth out all fucking album, man. You gotta, you know, punk sleep too.
Yeah.
It's called Drink Until You Pass Out.
Well, and then like the song was a slow bummer until the end. You know what I mean? They kind of just like worked their way back down to being mellow, and then just kind of cushion the track. But the actual song itself rips. I mean, I heard TSOL a little more than Kennedy's, but yeah, they definitely are a throwback to original like 1978 hardcore, Phase 1 hardcore, which it's win-win. Like there's a reason why that style was so iconic, and why everyone's still trying to replicate it, because it just sounded pissed. You know what I mean? You can't get any better than that. And I think that that's where this band really kind of shined, is that they were able to replicate that sound in a good way. And there was a nostalgia factor to it, while at the same time they were a good band for their time period too. And SNFU, I think they only had like 2 or 3 records, but I enjoyed like listening to them all the time. I didn't know that they were uncool. Like, what do you know why that would be, that they were somewhat unpopular, Matt?
No, I don't. But that seemed to happen more than once. I know that. I'd hear someone like kind of like shitting on them, and I'd be like, I dig them. They're not the fucking worst band I've heard by any means. And then like somebody else will come over and be like, yeah, I kind of like them too. I don't know why. I don't know. It's probably just the circle of fucking idiots that I rode around with back then, myself included, being one of those idiots. So yeah, man, it was all in good fun.
Yeah, man, that was PunkOramA Volume 1, and I really hope we kind of helped capture what it was like, how it felt to like pick a record like this up and bring it home and listen to it for the first time. I hope what we said about these songs kind of makes you guys feel that just excitement of just being able to be like, wow, this is all out there, and you had no clue until you bought this $4 CD that could have been crap, but it definitely was not.
If you want to feel the true vibe and essence of 90s punk, this album definitely covers it.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. And if after listening to this, you know, you're not really feeling that vibe, I'll be more than happy to send Joey Paquette to your house to fist you.
The triple, man, coming from all directions, Overfiend style, baby. That's what we'll have to call it. Yeah, just Overfiend style.
Yeah, the Overfiend fist.
Yep, that's PunkOramA.
PunkOramA. On Wednesday, we're going to be covering Volume 2, which is almost as good. We'll have a few more nitpicks and shit picks about it, because there are a couple tracks that we'll need discussing. But all in all, I would put it up against this one. I have a huge affinity for it, because it was like the album that I got that really kind of shined in my youth. You know what I mean? And it meant a lot. And there's one song in particular I can't wait to talk to, a certain song by Poison Idea that, yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun on Wednesday when we cover Volume 2. If you enjoyed this one, I really, really suggest you jumping in again with us. And I don't know, maybe kind of getting a hold of us and giving us some recommendations of what you might think would be interesting to hear us talk about, because we are planning on taking this in many different ways. Like, we're going to be doing our first movie review episode in the not too distant future. We still got to figure out what we want to do, but yeah, like this is going to cover so much, and it's going to be so much fun, just because I think we have great conversations on this show, and I love these two guys, man. Most reliable fools on the entire podcasting scene right here.
If my job allows it.
Yeah. Well, Tuesdays is pretty solid, man.
Yeah.
I think Tuesdays is a safe bet. So.
Yeah, that's why we're doing it on the afternoon on Tuesdays, so we can accommodate for Matois, and I can have it in between my my other show, my Zod Rider show that I do with my buddy, where we talk about how if a Warner Brothers executive farts 3 times at lunch instead of twice, what it means for the future of the Snyderverse and the DC. Like, it's weird. It's a lore that I'm still learning. Like, I'm kind of new to this anime still. I don't quite get the entire meta, but at least they're fun to laugh at. But until next time, this was Buzz Bites coming at you from Pink Buzz, BuzzOramA Volume 1. I had a total blast. I was so excited to do this episode. This is probably the most excited I've been to do an episode in a long time. I loved when Matt came up with the idea of us doing music. And then when Joey said he wanted to do punk comps, I was just like, yes. Yeah. And yeah, we'll probably do a couple more of these. Like, you guys ever listen to Are You Feeling Lucky Punk, the Nitro Records had like a lot of early AFI and like Jughead's Revenge and shit on it. It's good.
I sure
good
did.
Comp. And we might do that. But
there's so many good comps. I mean, every record label was putting these things out, like fucking Candy, Fat Records, Epitaph Records, Nitro Records, Victory Records, Hopeless Records, Fearless
Kung Fu
Records. Yeah, man,
BYO.
you fucking name it. They were all putting these fucking things out. And they were all good.
But until next time, I'm Mr. T, and I pity the fool that don't listen to our show. You can find me on Twitter at JohnnyAlpha81. And who are you guys, and where can they find y'all at?
I'm Fulci, and you can find me trying to avoid Joey's fisting.
Good luck.
Yeah.
I'm Joe Pocket, the Fist Master. You can find me at 00 Joe Pocket on Twitter. So if you want any fisting tips, just hit me up on Twitter.
On the Twister. Yeah, baby. All right.
I will be.
This is still graphic vandalism, so don't stop reading and don't stop listening to good music. Keep your ear to the grindstone because we got so much more coming out from this show. And yeah, thanks for taking this journey into hallowed antiquity with us. And I hope you join us on Wednesday. Peace out, y'all.
See you guys Wednesday.